My name is Bryan Espiritu, the saddest guy in this room right now. What's up? There's a thing about being an adult who never got to be a kid. And the strange thing is that you keep growing physically. You keep doing the things that they say you're supposed to do as an adult. You get a job, you get a career, you get into relationships with people, but you don't really know how to walk. You don't know how to feel safe. You don't know how to feel value. And so you're a very strong external structure, but you're really broken inside. And to be that kind of individual takes a lot of work to not just constantly feel like you're crumbling, especially when you're seen as a strong person, whether that's in your circle or it's through social. At the end of last year, I realized that I wasn't happy making a lot of money, or I wasn't fulfilled making a lot of money. And so I decided for the first time I'm going to furnish my house. I'm going to buy a bed. It was the first bed that I bought ever. I'm going to buy a sofa. I'm going to furnish my place. And once I furnished that place, I never left. I literally built a beautiful prison for me to stay isolated in. And what I realized really quickly was I was reshaping what circumstances I had been put into when I was a child, which was to be in seclusion, was to be trapped in a room or stuck in a storage space or whatever it is. And I was reverting back to a sense of comfort that was actually unsafe. When we talk about our homies, or when I talk about or think about people who say that they have my back, I feel like an inconvenience. And I know that a lot of people feel that because I see it in the messages that they send me. They feel like they can't reach out to somebody when they feel alone. And I mean, it's the reason why crisis numbers exist. It's the reason why 911 is there. And I know that those aren't the best options, but I'm done trying to find solutions. I just need to know that there's places that I could go. There's somewhere I can turn. And there is some comfort knowing that I might have 3 homies that I really, really trust. And those are options that I can go to if I need them. Whether I do it or not is up to me. My therapist said that to me the other day, is what you provide is not a fix. What I try to provide when I share stuff on social media or in person or on panels, when it comes to what I've dealt with and what I continue to deal with, is not solutions. I don't know how to fix what your circumstance is. It's too nuanced for me to know how you or what you need to do to get out of it. All I want to do is say there are different options than the negative ones that you have probably leaned towards. That's my only hope, is for me to say, I've found these options and I want to share them with you. If that helps anybody, then that's as much as I can do for anyone. I have this crazy obsession with puzzles and with words and with numbers. And I realized something the other day. There's 3 things. There's a maze. There's a mathematical problem, or sorry, 2 mathematical problems and this one maze that are actually impossible. And they've been proven to be impossible. And since I was young, I've been trying to figure them out. One is a maze, one's a mathematical problem, another one is a pattern that never repeats. And I still try to figure them out, even though they've been proven to not be possible. And I think the thing is that I'm so concerned with fixing the things that are in front of me that it also becomes a curse, because I go back in my life to figure out the causation for why I am who I am. And I want to fix it when I can't. Trying to figure out how to sort through my own personal shit publicly and helping other people is figuring out when enough is enough. Somebody that I care for very deeply, who's no longer in my life, said something to me and it hit me hard. I was going through a real bad bout and I was really, really suicidal. And I mentioned the fact that I needed to share it because other people needed to hear it. And she said, "You hang on to this harder than you hang on to your life." And I'm scared that what's giving me value is the thing that's killing me. I don't want to go out like that. I've been thinking a lot about um, this concept of ikigai that I'd literally just learned about, but the idea that if you can find the perfect sort of Venn diagram center place of what you're good at, what the world needs, what you can make money off of, and what you really, really love, if you can find what lands right in that center, you'll be truly, truly happy. And I think I weighed too heavy for a very long time on the idea that if I just kept making cool shit and getting money off of it, I'd be happy. And then I really thought about what I love and what the world needs, and it's helping people. And I think I land somewhere in the center if I can find a way to use my creativity to help others get through their struggles with mental health, mental wellness, and mental illness. No matter how much product I make, it needs to be led by purpose. What is the reason for me being here? I used to think that it was just dope to just make shit and design and make art. But what was the actual value of me? What differentiates me from anyone else who can do those exact same things? I think it's the things that I went through and how I emotionally metabolize those things. And now how do I share that with other individuals? It might be a very small fraction. They may not have any buying power, but that dollars have nothing to do with the importance of what I feel my purpose is. And that came from making a little bit of money and realizing that money's not fixing shit. My trauma still exists. I've said to homies of mine who are entrepreneurs that the only children we're allowed to fuck off on are our brain children, our ideas. They're the only ones that we're allowed to say, you know what, I don't really like you anymore. I'm going to fold you. The interesting thing about the transition in my life to wanting to help people more than I want to present product is that now I have to make the shift from a business that was heavily focused on retail because we have a brick and mortar space to one that's based on purpose. And that doesn't necessarily generate money right off the rip. But I have faith that the value of that is a lot higher than any article of clothing, any accessory that I can ever sell. So I've been in therapy for most of my life, right? Since I was 12 years old, I've been in therapy. And like the thing that I always relate being in therapy to is having a trainer. It's like having a mental trainer. And if you've been injured before, your trainer needs to be aware of your injury. And so when you're in therapy, it's necessary for you to be uprooting your old injuries, or else you can't get healthy. You can't maintain a level of health. I don't want to say that you come up with a solution or anything, but in the process of finding the support system, the type of homies who are willing to do that uprooting within themselves as well, you realize that you start to unearth all kinds of random shit you didn't realize was underneath the surface. And that's a huge challenge. But having the right people around you who are willing to challenge themselves to do that is something that motivates me to say, I can continue on because these guys are facing their dirt too. So I was speaking to this other patient. I told her the reasons why I was there. She told me her reasons. And I got into the competitive space in my head where I was like, oh, wow, you've lived a crazier life than me. And what she said to me was, we're in a universal struggle, man. What breaks me might not break you. What broke you might not break me. So don't ever apologize for having gone through less. And I'm really thankful to have learned that because it allows me to listen to other people who may be hurting in a way where I'm not immediately going to say, well, you know what happened to me? It was worse than what happened to you. I don't know how you're metabolizing that experience. I just know how I felt about my own. And that taught me a very valuable lesson about listening and empathy. In the environment and the climate that we're living in right now within social media, where it's so ego based, it's so heavily focused on how much attention you get and how much you can get out of somebody else, or calling someone who has a little bit more like clout than you your bro. You never been to his mom's house. People lack empathy. People lack an ability to say, I'm also not perfect, or you're not perfect and I see why you're hurting. It's looked down upon. And all of my efforts have been to clearly say that that's fucking all right. It's totally okay. Because I don't always feel good. I barely feel good. You know, the things that give me long-term happiness is it's almost always helping somebody else. It comes from the idea of giving to somebody. At any level. I was going to say somebody who maybe can't attain something, but at any level, I really feel like we're collectively on this ship together, and we should be all rowing to get to a positive place. We should all be contributing for all of us to get to a positive place. And when I get an opportunity to do that with community, to help other people, whether it's one person or an organization or a group of people, I feel very fulfilled. I feel like my purpose is fulfilled, and that gives me long-term happiness. I'm real proud of the younger version of myself for doing this. Really mitigate your risks. Like, it's so important when you can see an ounce of value in yourself, or even if that isn't value, even if it's just fear of consequences, you got to mitigate your risks. You got to be able to say, yeah, you know what? Maybe I can't get away from this fight right now, and I got to throw hands with somebody. But you got to know that you can't go hurting people to the level of you're going to be in prison for however many years, because you're ruining the potential of the future you. And I've seen a lot of people just fold their whole lives based on decisions that they made in a split fucking second. I had a situation once with a homie of mine, Brian Brock. We were at a group art exhibit that I was a part of, and I had a panic attack at the event. And I left and was talking to him, went back. He talked me into going back, went back, and I was like, all right, did that. And I had to leave again. I had another panic attack. Went back, did it again. It happened about 5 or 6 times, just going back and forth. The only thing that gets you to that point is fighting, is saying, you can do this, man. And not being afraid of failing in a situation where you're not actually in danger. I'll tell you something honestly right now. My anxiety, for whatever reason, is going through the ceiling. And I'm going through the early stages of what is typically a panic attack for me. And I'm not leaving. So I'm literally in the middle of it right now. And the only thing that would help me sit through this is experiences like having them and not running from them, knowing that I'm not in actual danger right now. And I know it's hard for people who go through it, but you've got to make the decision to fight. Any of my ability to navigate through suicidal thoughts or depression or anything like that, it comes from living long enough to know that these things will pass, that the wave might come back, but it'll pass. And I had this young homie talk to me one day about how he used to think balance worked in his life. And he said, I used to think that if I could stand on one leg and no one could move me, that meant I was balanced. And then slowly I realized that balance was more like surfing. I needed to be able to manage what waves hit me. It's the same thing with your mental wellness. A wave is going to crash constantly, and you just got to be aware that it's going to ebb and flow, and you'll be all right, but you got to fight through it. Hindsight, it's so easy for me to look at things in hindsight and say, yeah, it would have been easier. But things were fucking happening, man. People were... very crazy shit was happening in my life. It was a lot different than it is now. And I can't expect me to have been able to navigate it any better than I actually did, to be honest with you. If I could say something to the younger me, I'd be like, yo, I'm fucking proud of you, bro. Real shit.